So Donald Trump gave a speech last night in North Carolina, and it was, in a word, pathetic and embarrassing. Donald Trump liked to make fun of Joe Biden for being Sleepy Joe, but throughout this whole speech, Donald Trump was slurring his words, mixing up his words, and yes, wearing his pants backwards.
We have to get it done. We have no choice, actually. We have to get it done. Together, we're going to defend our freedoms. You just take a look at what's happening. We have to defend our borders. We have to do all of these things. And Biden has halted wall construction, suspended removals, and even removals of just horrible.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, Mr. President, thank you so much. You know, and go back to 2016. I was in a 17-way race and won that primary and got here. I was a business guy.
So I showed you 3 clips there of Donald Trump basically saying things like defund our freedoms. What the heck does that mean? Clearly not being able to kind of pronounce his words clearly, very low energy, almost like he's lethargic, slurring, sleeping. And then finally at the end of the speech, he shows himself and there's very clearly no fly on the pants and it's all weirdly shaped. And he just looks awful. And you might be saying to yourself, why are we making fun of this man on these very shallow things? And what I'll say is, one, Donald Trump gets this karmically. He spent his entire life mocking other people's appearance. Normally women that he disagreed with, he would mock their appearance, call them ugly, call them overweight, call them frumpy, whatever, as a way to kind of exert his power. Heck, he called Ted Cruz's wife ugly back during the Republican primary, sort of saying, why would you vote for this guy? He's got an ugly wife. So I don't think Donald Trump deserves a lot of sympathy when it comes to his appearance being protected. And it's also the case that during the primaries, his biggest campaign attack on Biden in many ways was that he was Sleepy Joe, he had dementia, cognitive decline, whatever. And whether or not you think Joe Biden is as sharp as he was a few years ago, the fact of the matter is Joe Biden never did those attacks against Donald Trump. And so it's very richly deserved that Trump is getting attacked for being demented, having cognitive decline. It's all very richly deserved. We should remember this, though, because it really shows the knife's edge of the Republican Party. On the one hand, you clearly have this guy that's not in a condition to lead a political movement, let alone a country, and yet he still dominates the Republican Party. So you have a guy that doesn't really get what's happening, that isn't in basic control, that looks awful most of the time now, and yet he controls one of the 2 biggest parties in the United States. And it really shows the cult-like devotion to Donald Trump. This is clearly a man that's not ready for primetime. This is clearly a man that's not going to be ready to be a legitimate candidate in 2024, or if he runs for the House or whatever. And if he wins by some awful miracle, then, you know, he's not going to be ready to run the country for another 4 years. But that doesn't stop the Republican Party, because Trump is about more than the man. It's about his hateful ideology. So this is a good moment to see, one, that Donald Trump is an absolute fool, but 2, that an entire political movement has based its entire identity on this political fool. It's both hilarious, but it's also a little terrifying.